got Cindy with me today from Cape Ann Foodie Tours, a Gloucester staple, correct?
Yes.
Give us a little history on how you got into this yourself. It's a great story, and I love what you're doing in the community. It's like kind of a fun event.
It is a lot of fun, yeah. I always say, miserable people don't go on food tours. Oh, I hate my life. I think I'll go on a food tour today. So that makes it really special and fun for me and the guides that I work with. So I came home I grew up in Gloucester and travel. I was a tenured school teacher. I tell people don't ever give up your tenured school teaching job to travel. But it was exciting and it was nice to get over the bridge and see the world. And like a lot of my friends or people I know, you come back to Gloucester. Everybody, because why not come back to Gloucester? It's so beautiful.
Millions of people come here for all that Gloucester has to offer. And being a local, you just have that much more advantage. It's like you've said before, it's a high school reunion every time you go out in the island.
I know, it's so much fun. Yeah, and so that was in 17 years ago, I want to say. I came to help my parents out. The same people who were trying to get rid of me when I was, 6 kids in a row. It's like, what are you doing still here? It's like, I'm 16. I can't be going too far right now. But no, they were great. And so after my mother died, I was taking care of my dad. And, I was kind of lost. I'd ride my bike to Niles Beach and I'd swim for an hour. I'd swim and then go home. And I wasn't really socializing. And then I just decided, because I was a corporate meeting and event planner for years, as well as a travel director, living overseas, that's what I did. I just said I have to get out and at least go to tourism meetings. So I met a young man, Patrick Halloran, whose dad had been a fisherman, for Paul, his name is, for many years. And he had been in Italy with his wife, and they had went on food tours, which are very big in Italy. And he came home and thought, Gloucester could use something like that. So I met him, and we just started talking, about my background and things. And so he said, do you want to be a tour guide for my food tour company? I said, absolutely not, because in my business, people in charge of everything. They don't care about history or any of that stuff. So the next thing I know, of course, I'm being a tour guide for PJ. And I was taking care of my dad, who was a historian. He'd do things like take us to a cemetery after Thanksgiving dinner, instead of I'm sure we watch football too. I'm sounding like that was an abusive thing now today. You'd be in therapy, these kids, right? So when I did it with PJ, it was like an afternoon out. Our tours are from 11:30 till approximately 2:30, depending how much fun people are having. And we like those hours because it's a little before the lunch rush, and then when you're doing it at the end, it's kind of after the lunch rush. So, and then people have time to explore Gloucester and find out everything there is to go on. So, so when PJ was starting his family, he was in the fire department. He's a fire chief now. And he said, do you want to take over the business? So I said, And I talked to my dad, and he said, why don't we do it? Because it's just so good, and I was learning so much, and he loved history. He was a civil engineer by trade, but historian by heart, I guess. Well, both. He's a bridge engineer and all that kind of stuff. So I said, all right, well, let's do it. And then, of course, he dies 3 weeks later because he was 91, and I'm thinking, my first business mistake here was having a 91-year-old business partner. But it's just so sweet. He was the nicest guy. My friends, I never saw so many people cry when a 91-year-old died. My friends, everyone loved him. So I just feel like he's with me all the time doing this. So that was a big incentive for me. So that's how I got into it. And so I've been doing it.
So, yeah, give us a little bit of how this runs. It's literally year-round, so anybody can go on this anytime. It's typically, though, Tuesday to Saturday because a lot of foodie places close on Sundays and Mondays.
Yeah, it's kind of quiet, and it gives us a break. So I have a website, and a tour will be open, and people can book. Or if we just want to see if we can do it, it'll say call to book. So somebody
if you
will
have
call.
a special event or something,
a
lot of people. You've done some big stuff. You've had 80-plus people come through on a corporate event and have to take them in waves of people through this.
Yeah. And it's great because it's an incentive for them. They have these meetings and then they get the break, and so they get to know all about Gloucester and try the different foods. And, it's really a lot of fun for people. And then so many people come back, which is the big deal, too. Everybody that comes on vacation, they'll start coming back every year. Or a lot of people, they come here for anniversaries or reunions or a lot of birthday parties, things like that. So, it's a lot of business that we bring into the restaurants and the shops downtown.
And so you took this over from PJ, or when did you start, and then when did you take it over from PJ?
I started with him in 2012, and then I took it over in 2015,
Okay, so you're on almost your 10th year yourself.
It is, myself. Yeah, almost. And then we did it for 3 years, so it's like our 13th season. Yeah, it's been going on for a while.
Hey, give us a little, like some examples of some places that, obviously local Gloucester people might know, but they might not have ever been in. Some of the stops that you guys make on some of these tours.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I have a lot of people who are from Gloucester and they have friends coming into town, so they'll take their friends on the tour. Happens a lot. It's funny. So I'll give you a little bit of background on what the tours are like. They're only about a half-mile long. And people are here. For me, the biggest part is the culture. People learning about, like Finnish people. So many people don't think of Gloucester as being Finnish. They think Italian and Portuguese. But like the English came first, the Irish from the Canadian Maritimes, and then the Finns because they were stonecutters. So I'd like to tell them in the beginning about that. Fitzhenry Lane, we walked by his sculpture, and the people are fascinated by the art. And then we go to different places on the waterfront and around town. So we go to, everybody knows the Gloucester House, but again, we go to family established places. So we want tradition. And that's a great spot because the Linkwater family has owned it for years. Mike Linkwater, the patriarch, got the World War II memorial. He had that all set up and put together, and that was pretty impressive. And it's outside in the summer, and then inside now it's a cozy restaurant with a fireplace, and then you can walk up to Cape Ann, which is fabulous there. And then we kind of intermingle it with walking to the different areas and pointing out like St. Peter's Square and how the Beauport was Bird's Eye Factory, which is so many people don't realize how many famous people were here. And then we kind of meander around. I had a woman one time who was like blind, like really blind with the walking stick, and she just said, I always wanted to learn about Gloucester. And I had a group of about 12 people that day. And so she had taken like an Uber from Brighton to the train station, took the train, got off the wrong stop in Beverly, took another transportation there, and then walked from the train. She took a cab from the train station to Harbor Loop, and we were just everybody. She'd look, for Chowder. Everybody just loved her. She was so sweet. And I said, "So, were you doing okay with walking with me?" And she said, "Oh, yeah." She said, "But you never walk in a straight line, do you?" Because we kind of, go up and around, and because I want to point out a lot of things. And for instance, like on a Saturday, that's the only day he's open. Jeff Weaver is an amazing artist if you haven't been down on Roger Street on a Saturday. But we go in there and I show them his paintings. And it's just, people have a lot of fun running into people around town. We'll go up to Main Street. Well, we do, normally we go through like Main Street because they have all those granite posts that they put up so people could read things as they go around. So I'll stop like at Judith Sargent Murray and talk about that. I'll stop in a different place to talk about Dogtown and show them a poster so they can see what the boulders, sayings on the boulders are. And we go to Cape Ann Olive Oil because they're just so good to us. They always have been. And they have a special display table, things that's just for us. So because anybody can go in there and buy things, but Betsy's the best. That she's a manager now, and she just knows everything there is to know. And then, mixing different drinks with and concoction things to mix olive oil and balsamics, and I have to drag them out of there. Because then we go to Virgilio's, it's everybody, because it's all about the bread. And I'm surprised, like I did a tour one time with all my high school friends, and they're like, "Oh, I've never been in Virgilio's." It's like, really? You know,
What?
how is that even possible?
Yeah.
And they didn't know anything about Fitzhenry Lane. I said, "Gosh, you guys weren't paying any attention ever to anything." Oh, I hope none of my
So they
friends are
were
listening to
raising
this.
hell.
I'm not naming any of them because they could be listening to this. Yeah, so we just go to different
interesting because
places.
the name Cape Ann Foodie Tours makes it seem like it's all about food. You're getting food. You're getting chowder.
Right.
You're getting Virgilio's.
Canolios, Cafe Cecilia, yeah.
You're doing those things, but you're also getting a history lesson. You're
Right.
learning about Fiesta. You're
Yeah.
learning about, the wicked tuna boats, which is,
Right.
you're learning about the harbor. You're learning
Perfect
about the
storm.
schooners.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're walking by the crow's nest and hearing about it. And during the day, you're kind of getting almost these appetizers, if you will. But you're also telling them about Tono and
Right.
Oak and Ember and all these other
Yeah.
places that if somebody's going on this tour, maybe they're in town for 10 days on vacation, meeting a couple families together. They're going
Right.
to go hit up all these places afterwards.
Right, yeah, exactly, which is what they do.
Yeah.
They'll go out, they'll want to know what's a great place for dinner. The Franklin or Seaport Grill, and they want to walk off to the Crow's Nest from there, or whatever. Rocky Neck, I really emphasize that.
Yeah.
It's funny, growing up here, everybody was in neighborhoods. So, like, I never went to Rocky Neck, and now I still feel like I'm going on vacation when I go over there.
Yeah.
And I also, where we start on Harbor Loop, we have the Maritime Center, the museum there. And so they can, we talk about like the schooners. The water taxi picks up right where we are. And that, they can bop around the harbor. And Stevie Douglas that runs that, I went to high school with him. He's a hoot. He has this accent where it sounds like he's from down East Maine. I'm like, where did that come from? But yeah, he's like an old soul, real character. And so when we walk by that too, his company, it's signs everywhere about it. But he does a tour that goes around. It's a lighthouse tour, and it goes around the whole island, which is, I tell people, you're on land now, but you have to get on, you have to see it from the water because it's mesmerizing. People don't know, like the Annisquam, the little villages that, like Annisquam, Russell Crowe's summered there. His daughter's quite an actress in Gloucester Stage Company. But he wrote The Sound of Music. Now, he didn't write the song, the music, but he wrote the screenplay. It's pretty impressive, the people that you don't realize or hear. So I tell them about Hammond Castle, John Hayes Hammond, Beauport, and the Breakwater, Kenny Chesney. A lot of people don't like country, really. Not that many, but when he did that, did you see that video?
Yeah.
That's funny. When they go out past 10 Pound Island, like every movie, The Perfect Storm, Coda, because people that have been to Rockport, if they're staying there, I tell them about the Shaylin Liu, and in the movie Coda, she did at our audition. She was trying to get into Berklee School of Music. So she did her audition instead of at Berklee, she did at Rockport, the Shaylin Liu. So it's just people, and again, people are here to learn history and to learn culture. So if I ever mention a couple of movies, I'll go, I don't want to be like the People magazine tour guy.
No, you're like an ambassador for Cape Ann.
Yeah,
really.
I'd like to think I don't think of myself really as a historian, but I do, go to the museum, to the archives, and Gloucester, the Sawyer Free Library has so much information. You can look up, like I was looking up Captain Hardy, that was the sea captain my house was built for, and so much that you can learn from that too as well. So I do know a lot more history than I did when I was younger.
Well, you're sort of mixing people's like sort of two favorite things, right? When you're especially when you're in a new place. Like I get that, there's locals that are going on these too. Like that might make up even the majority of it. But when you're in a new place and you're learning a little bit about the location, the history, and you're eating, like what other better event really is there, but combination wise, like that's ideal.
And I'll give people, my cell phone. Say, text me if you have a question, if you're out somewhere and you want to know something. And it really does get people excited. Like I said, I like to have people, have it be the first thing that they do when they get to town.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, all the social media stuff.
Give us some examples for the listeners of types of groups. I know we were talking about this, but as long as you're willing, as long as you're looking to have some fun and probably cackle with your friends a little bit too much. I mean, you're talking about like it can be a business outing. You could be at the Beauport doing some business event and then meeting and then do this. It could just be a couple nurse friends just wanting to get out of the grind and go do something fun for a day. Give us some examples of some groups that come out and hang out with you for the day.
Well, again, the Beauport, there's a lot of people. I just had a big group from Fidelity, actually. So that was their, perk after being stuck inside. And they all wanted to walk. And because it's like, does anyone need a ride to the first place? And it's interesting because we've had people that had problems walking and things. And like you can't go to Hammond Castle if you can't walk, the stairs and all the stairs that you have to go through. But so I had 80 people. Was I telling you that earlier when we chatted?
Yeah, that's a big group to get in and out of Cape Ann olive oil.
Right. So then I have 4 tour guides that are amazing because it's really hard to be a tour guide. I mean, I'm kind of self-deprecating. Deprecating, is that the word? Anyway, I just don't have a lot of confidence in terms of my ability to do things. But I happen to be really good at this because, and this is the trick, is that you need to know your stuff. You need to know history. You need to know about the culture. But you also have to be a people person. You have to read a group. You have to just be able to read a group. Like, do these people, are they younger? Do they just want to have fun and don't really care that much? Or are they really here for the history and to see how much you know? So a lot of times people have tons of personality, but they can't learn. You know what I mean? They're not good at that. Or they're historians that are giving them too much information. So that's what I like to do is kind of combine it.
Or it's like old friends getting together and they're not listening to you at all. They're just there because their old friends are.
Yeah, but they mostly don't, because I kind of yuck it up with people like they get a kick out of, I don't know, some of the things that I might talk about, and then the accent. It's like, why do we say, like I'll say my sister Lisa. Now, why would I do that? That just doesn't make any sense. And then people from Massachusetts, I'll say, oh, and then we have the Kennedys. They have their own accent. Nobody else in Massachusetts sounds like the Kennedys, But, and how you spell Gloucester, Glosta, and I don't know. And John Smith, who came here after Champlain, so he came in 1614 to commissioned to draw maps from Mohegan Island in Maine, and he got here, and it was all about the fish. Went back to King Charles and said, I found this great place, and I named it Tragabazanda. So, okay, because she was some Turkish princess who got him out of prison. His girlfriend's Tragabazanda, Pocahontas, but so King Charles, of course, said, we'll go back, but we're not calling it Tragabazanda. So it became known as Cape Ann after his mother, who was Queen of England at the time. Denmark at the time. But people get a kick out of, like, I don't know, little things, or you might see somebody that had walked the greasy pole, or, things like that, and they're a riot, because, like, Cafe Cecilia has a lot of characters that go in there. But, yeah, so I think it's, even if it's, like, I don't really talk a lot about my life. I don't like to because I want to listen to them. I don't want to think that, I'm bringing this up. Every once in a while, like if someone talks about the perfect storm, I mentioned, like, in Annisquam, so Billy Tyne, who was the captain of the Andrea Gale that sank, he was in my kindergarten class, and he happened to be, in our class photo, he happened to be standing next to a child's drawing of a fish. So that took off. It was in all these different places, and I said, I remember saying, I was sitting next to the cutest little girl ever, Josephine Castro, with her perfect red banana curls and like a little angel. And I'm like, my mother cut my bangs. It's like this, one eye, Yeah, that's when my sister said, oh, you must be going through one of your awkward, ugly stages. It's like, nobody's awkward. I don't care what you look like when you're 5, right? You're adorable. It doesn't make any difference what you look like when you're 5. So,
I bet you feel like, because you had this hiatus away from Gloucester in your middle life.
Yeah.
And I bet you feel like it's changed, but at the same time it hasn't.
Right. I mean, I'm just thrilled. I was, when I came back, I was really like a fish out of water. No pun or pun intended, I'm not sure which. So it was really uncomfortable for me because everybody that I met wasn't from here. And my friends that had stayed, they were all, the kids, they raised their kids here. Everybody raised their kids here, and I didn't have children. So that was another thing. And then all of a sudden, I started meeting people. I don't know where I was, but like I met this woman, Terry Weber, who is an amazing writer. And she said, I don't know who you are, but you crack me up. Want to join our writers group? So I got into writing at the Writers Center, and nobody there was from Gloucester. And then, I ended up getting in tourism, and I really feel like the Chamber of Commerce has been unbelievable lately. I've done, I don't know how long I've been with them, 7 or 8 years, but they're really doing a great job promoting, and they're just, their new office, well, it's been there a few years now, is just so welcoming. I belong to the Tourism Council, and like all those people, this couple maybe here and there, that are from, originally here, like Bonnie from Woodman's. I worked at Woodman's when, I don't know, you had to be related there to my boyfriend, high school boyfriend's father was Dexter Woodman's cousin, something like that. So I cooked steamed clams and put lobsters in big vats. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, did I ever go anywhere? And then I ended up, buying my parents from my siblings after my father died. I'm like, what are we doing? So then my boyfriend, he was just, I hate the word boyfriend when you're my age, but we did get married. He's like, no, they're not going to build any oceanfront property anymore. So, and then at the time, they were doing the whole boulevard. There was lots of money for the seawall, and then they had those beautiful gardens, thousands of tulips. Now people come from not all over the world. It's, not like Holland necessarily, but it's pretty impressive, but we couldn't give the house away at the time. So then I really felt like, oh my gosh, what the heck am I doing? But it's been great. I mean, catching up with high school friends and playing bocce and bowling with them. And it's like kind of being a kid again, but I don't know, it's and my
a great
neighbors.
Community.
Yeah, and my neighbor where I live, there's only 6 houses. And there's only one person in those 6 houses that wasn't from the next generation. Like my house, and then Joni next door, she moved back from after her career in San Diego. Anthony moved back from Chicago. And the next house, they had been there forever, but still so it's pretty impressive. And, it's nice. And my friend Trish, who worked at her mother worked at Ham and Castle for 25 years. And I've known her since she was 4 and I was 3.
Yeah.
And so you have that, and typical New Englanders, we're not like on top of each other, but if something happened to anybody in the neighborhood, we'd be right there for them.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. And again, the food tours, people have been so supportive. Everybody will introduce me, although the fork thing, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to die and have my obituary with that fork. I know. I'm on the fence about what to do with that. And if I don't bring it, oh my gosh, people like, what? Where's the fork?
It's the first thing I was looking for when you walked in here today. It's the first thing. If you ever get rid of the fork, it's over for you.
I know, right? That could happen.
So let's tell everybody where they can find you and where they can book you. You have your social media pages. I follow you on like Facebook. You have Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
They can go to your website and sort of book a tour or contact you through that.
Yeah, call to book And then we're doing more groups, and then we have our regular groups. Like we do a quarterly tour with Gorton's. So seafood, because they have their new employees, which is great. So they're not from here, obviously. And then they go on the tour so they can learn about Gloucester and learn about the restaurants. And so it's a lot of fun. They're all, I was one girl. And so, like I said, it's a lot of fun. And she was the first one to say, where's the fork? So I had to have my husband bring down, because he was home or something. No, his son came down and met us at Cafe Cecilia at the end. I'm like, desperate for that fork. So she's like twirling it around. I mean, thousands of people saw that because everyone knows her because she's so funny. And twirling it around. I said, were you a cheerleader? No. Head of the drill team. And she's twirling the thing around. But
So whether you're from here
right.
or you're not from here and you're visiting here,
Yeah.
it's just a unique way to come like experience the food in Gloucester and to get some recommendations on some of the other like nighttime establishments for dinner. You know, from music from somebody who's literally been to all of these places,
right?
Knows everyone. Yeah, this is fun. I hope to go. I haven't been on it myself, but I'm gonna go do it with you because it sounds like a hoot. It sounds like
and it would be a lot of fun.
And you crack me up like all day we've been talking here, and you are just a good time. I appreciate
thank you. Yeah, I'm more nervous than I don't know. I'm kind of my own worst enemy, so I still worry about. The minute I get to Harbor Loop, say, on those tours, I see these people, I'm fine. But before that, every day I'm like, Plus, I live off island on the other side of the bridge, so I have to look out for that to make sure, I don't want to be late. And but yeah, it's been a great experience. I really am kind of happy that I fell into it and make a difference with people and get those 5-star reviews. And people always say, I'm so happy that I did this. And a lot of people actually travel, and that's one of the first things they do is go on a food tour. There's a whole thing now about experiences instead of buying things.
Yeah.
Not that they don't do that too, but the experience. It's 36, I was reading at AAA, I think it was, 36% of the people that are looking for experiences go on food tours. So I have so many people that travel every place they go. So I'm worried when someone says they've just been to Rome and this place and here, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But they're not from here, they're from some cornfield in Iowa, right? So and they're fascinated with the community and
it's super affordable. Not to lock you into your prices for long term, but it's like $75 a person,
right? Yeah,
and you're getting fed along the way, and you're getting the historic.
Yeah, it's a long tour for that. Yeah,
you're getting a ton of bang for your buck.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you have a group, if you have of friends or with work,
it's office people. Nurses, again, the group I had of 80, they were insurance people from all over. I mentioned the group earlier about that they had all lost a son in Afghanistan, and they were so connected, and they were having a good time because they need to do that. It's an outlet doing things like that. And, so many people I've had, like a woman say, we're celebrating my husband's been cancer-free for a year. I hear from people still. I get Christmas cards from people.
Yeah.
So, it's a very heartwarming. Everybody's going through something, right? So to just get out and have fun is, especially all different generations too.
And then when you finish the food tour, you can go on the tiki boat tour in town.
Yeah, you can take the water shuttle around. You can go on, an island tour and see those lighthouses.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do around here.
There's so much to do around here. I look at the paper at Gail McCarthy and on Thursdays is mostly what there is to do. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't make a decision. There's so many things going on, just having so much, the stage company and the Shaylin Lou, the Rum Line, there's great music. We all go to the early show. That's like you've been out all day. It's like I can't go home and dress and go out at 9 at the stage. Pretty sad, but they have such great music around town, and it's just very cozy in the winter. There's still a lot to do in the winter.
Yeah.
We were doing fireside chats we do an Ales and Tales tour. Again, these other groups that we're doing. We would charter the Ardell. We'd go on the Ardell. We'd just charter the boat, and that would be for a company outing, things like that. So we're trying to do more, of course, with larger groups. So that's why, so we can afford to do what we do. Those are, a lot of work to put together, but they're a lot more lucrative. But still, I like the smaller groups because I just feel, per tour guide, we only have 12 people. We don't want to have more than that per tour guide. So if we have we had a big group, 80 people. I had 5 tour guides, and then I had people meeting to give out food different places, so it wasn't overwhelming. Everything works out. I mean, I've never had anything not work out, and people have, it's kind of fun, even like Brooksby Village or something, they have these little buses. And I thought, oh my gosh, what are these people going to be like? And they're just fascinated. I mean, they're really interested in, it's so nice to see older people that are intrigued by what you have to say. Yeah. And people do they really get excited about the history. And I mean, I guess it's getting older, but like my great-grandfather was a pretty famous fisherman from Nova Scotia. My family's Irish and Finnish, which people think, like
I said, drink beer in your sauna a lot.
Yeah, I can't even pronounce the language. It's like the worst language. Sisu is I don't know if my Finnish accent, which means like chutzpah, inner strength, and that's a tough one. Yeah. They had one in Lanesville one time when I was growing up that would go to a sauna.
Well, Cindy, this has been a pleasure, you coming on here. I think everybody should come do this. Just one shout out to the listeners. These are the types of businesses that rely on you guys to come and tell people about it and bring a friend that, if you live in Gloucester and you've got friends not in Gloucester, to bring them down to these local businesses and get them to experience the town and see the town from a different angle. And you might even learn something yourself that you didn't know. Like, that's the kind of support we need, just like we needed on here on this podcast, the likes, the shares, the 5 stars, those meaningful things for our small businesses. That's key. That's why we're doing this with the Chamber. But Cindy, I appreciate you coming on here and doing your business.
I appreciate you too, Troy. Yeah, thank you. It was a great experience.
Thanks.
A lot of fun.
Awesome.
Okay.